Welcome to 6-7 Notes, where I'm going to be describing 1984 and specifically the role of secrecy in 1984 through Gen Z slang. 1984 takes place in Oceania, which is ruled by the party, who are the Ops, and its leader, Big Brother. The government maintains power through constant surveillance, propaganda, and fear. Citizens are watched at all times by telescreens, and even private thoughts can be punished as thought crime. Winston Smith, the main character and the GOAT, works at the Ministry of Truth, where his job is to make up cap historical records so that they always match the ops' current version of events. Over time, he realizes that truth itself is cap. In fact, it only exists only if the party says they do. Language is also manipulated through newspeak, which essentially tells you to side bow in order to make rebellious thoughts literally impossible to express. Winston begins a secret rebellion by writing in a diary and later starts raising up the Huz because they believed that a personal relationship and memory might be ways to stand on business and resist. However, the ops control is far more complete than they realize. Through betrayal, torture, and psychological manipulation, the ops break Winston down, making him accept their reality. In 1984, secrecy played a crucial role for Winston Smith, whose private rebellion against Big Brother depends entirely on keeping his thoughts and actions low key. Winston's need for secrecy, his decision to reveal his deepest beliefs, and the consequences of that revelation all drive the plot and reinforce the novel's central warning about the dangers of absolute political power. First of all, keeping it on the DL was necessary in 1984 because the ops control not only people's actions, but their thoughts as well. In 1984, independent thinking was considered thought crime, and citizens were constantly watched by telescreens and the thought police. Winston's goal is not only to stay alive, but to keep his sense of individuality and truth in a society built on lies. To do this, he must keep his thoughts secret. His diary, which records his hatred of the number one op, Big Brother, is a big mistake. Winston spits bars and says, to mark the paper was the decisive act. His memories of life before the ops are dangerous because they contradict official history. Even his emotions have to be hidden. Without keeping these thoughts and feelings secret, Winston would be slimed out. Orwell uses this constant fear to show how Big Brother relies on surveillance to eliminate freedom before it can even be expressed, emphasizing the need for secrecy. Most significant secret, his internal rebellion against the ops, is eventually revealed to O'Brien, and this decision becomes the story's turning point. When Winston meets O'Brien, he believes he has found a day one who shares his hatred of the ops. Winston gets baited into trusting O'Brien and admits that TSPMO. Winston crashes out and says, "We are enemies of the party. We disbelieve in the principles of Ingsoc. We are thought criminals." This moment feels like a progression towards rebellion, but actually, it's a trap. O'Brien is an op, and Winston's confession causes his own arrest. Winston unknowingly hands the ops evidence it needs to slime him out. This choice moves the plot from quiet standing on business to open punishment and shows how dangerous trust can be in this society. The consequences of Winston's failed secrecy cook him, and after his arrest, Winston is tortured until he betrays the Huz, Julia, and accepts the ops version of reality. Everything was all right. The struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself. And Winston's personal beliefs and struggles were all snuffed out for good with the line, he loved Big Brother. He finally drinks the Kool-Aid and proves that secrecy and rebellion are ultimately powerless against a government that controls truth, language, and fear. Orwell uses Winston's defeat to emphasize that the ops do not merely want obedience, but wants complete control over the brain. The fact that Winston can't keep his secret forever shows that individual freedom couldn't survive in a system designed specifically to fight these secrets. Through torture, Orwell warns readers about the extreme dangers of unchecked political authority and the loss of personal truth. In 1984, secrecy was 6 and 7. Winston's secret thoughts allow him to feel human, but revealing them leads to his downfall. By showing how secrecy falls under totalitarian rule, Orwell describes the fragility of freedom and the terrifying consequences of a world where secrecy is outlawed.